The Arizona sun blazed like a molten coin nailed to the sky. At 10:17 a.m., Elena Martinez stood barefoot on her sun-bleached patio, sipping black coffee from a chipped ceramic mug. Her eyes were fixed on the roof of her modest stucco home, where just yesterday two technicians had installed 6 gleaming solar panels in neat geometric alignment. They shimmered like obsidian wings catching fire. She smiled. For the first time in months, she felt a flicker of control. Elena had moved to Saguaro Springs, a planned community 20 miles outside Tucson 3 years ago after her divorce. The HOA fees were steep, the rules exhaustive: no clotheslines, no front yard vegetable gardens, no paint colors outside the desert neutrals palette, but the quiet streets and mountain views had promised peace. Instead, she'd found bureaucracy wrapped in pastel stucco. But today felt like rebellion. The panels weren't just about saving money on her electric bill, though with summer temperatures climbing past 110 degrees F, that mattered. They were about independence. About saying no to a system that charged her $300 a month just to exist in a box that looked exactly like every other box on the street. She'd done her homework. Arizona State Law ARS Section 331803 explicitly prohibited HOAs from banning solar energy devices. She'd printed the statute, highlighted it in yellow, and tucked it into her kitchen drawer, just in case. She didn't think she'd need it so soon. By 11:03 a.m. the first knock came. Elena opened the door to find 17-year-old Liam Carter standing on her porch, shifting his weight from foot to foot like he was balancing on hot coals. He wore khaki shorts, a faded Saguaro Springs high t-shirt, and an expression of practiced neutrality that didn't quite mask his discomfort. "Ms. Martinez," he said, voice cracking slightly, "I'm here on behalf of the HOA." Elena raised an eyebrow. "You're the HOA now?" "No, ma'am, I'm interning, summer program. Mr. Henderson asked me to deliver this." He held out a crisp white envelope sealed with the Saguaro Springs logo, a stylized saguaro cactus inside a circle. She took it without a word. Inside was a formal violation notice. Notice of noncompliance. Resident Elena Martinez, 4217 Palo Verde Lane. Violation: unauthorized rooftop modification, solar panels. Covenant reference: Section 7(4)(b). No exterior alterations shall be made without prior written approval from the Architectural Review Committee (ARC). Remedy required: remove panels within 14 days or face fines of $100 day. Elena's jaw tightened. Did Mr. Henderson read Arizona state law before sending this? Liam blinked. I don't know, ma'am, I just deliver the notices." She studied him, the acne on his chin, the nervous tap of his sneaker against the welcome mat, the way his eyes kept darting toward her roof. "You live on Mesquite Drive, right? Blue mailbox." "Yeah." "Your mom works at the clinic. I saw you at the farmer's market last month." He nodded, surprised. "You seem like a smart kid," she said gently. "Don't let them turn you into a paperboy for tyranny." Liam flushed. "It's not tyranny, ma'am, it's rules for property values." "Property values," she repeated, tasting the words like ash. "Right, go tell Mr. Henderson I'll be in touch." She closed the door softly, not slammed, just closed, the kind of quiet that echoes louder than shouting. At 1:15 p.m., the real confrontation began. Elena was in her backyard, pruning her desert rose when she heard voices. She walked around the side of the house and froze. Standing on her driveway were 3 people. Brad Henderson, HOA president, mid-50s, polo shirt tucked into khakis, arms crossed like a sentry. Marjorie Finch, arc chair, silver bob, oversized sunglasses, holding a clipboard like a shield. And Liam, lingering awkwardly near the mailbox, clearly regretting his life choices. Brad stepped forward. "Elena, we need to talk about your installation." "It's not an installation," she said, wiping dirt from her hands onto her jeans. "It's solar panels, legal, state-mandated, protected." Marjorie adjusted her sunglasses. "Section is very clear: no exterior modifications without ARC approval. You bypassed the entire process." "I submitted an application 2 months ago," Elena said, voice steady. "You denied it, cited aesthetic inconsistency with community standards." "Exactly," Brad said, puffing his chest. "Those panels are an eyesore. They disrupt the uniformity of the neighborhood. People moved here for a certain look." A certain look? Elena laughed, sharp and brittle. You mean the look of identical beige boxes where nobody dares hang a wind chime without permission, where kids can't ride bikes on the sidewalk after 8 p.m., where my neighbor got fined for planting lavender because it violated the xeriscape palette. This isn't about lavender, Marjorie snapped. This is about you flouting rules that keep our property values stable. Stable for whom? Elena shot back. For investors, for retirees who'll never meet their neighbors, or for people like me single working 2 jobs trying to cut my electric bill in half so I can afford insulin. Silence. Brad cleared his throat. That's unfortunate but irrelevant. The rule is the rule. No, Elena said, stepping closer. The law is the law, and Arizona law says you can't ban solar panels, period. Brad smirked. Oh, we know about the state law, but it allows reasonable restrictions, and we consider prior approval a reasonable restriction. That's a loophole you're exploiting, Elena said. You denied me because you didn't like how they looked, not because they were unsafe, not because they violated building codes, because they looked different. Liam shifted again. Mr. Henderson, I looked it up. The law says HOAs can't prohibit solar devices outright, and reasonable restrictions can't effectively prohibit them either. Brad shot him a glare. Stay out of this, Liam. You're here to observe, not interpret. But the seed was planted. Elena crossed her arms. So what now? You're going to fine me $100 a day until I rip them off my roof, while my panels generate clean energy and lower my carbon footprint, while your gas-guzzling SUV sits in your driveway, polluting the air we all breathe. This isn't about the environment, Marjorie said coldly. It's about contractual obligation. You signed the covenants when you bought this house. I signed a contract, Elena said, not a surrender of my rights. The sun beat down, sweat trickled down Brad's temple. A cicada screamed in the palo verde tree. Then Elena did something unexpected. She pulled out her phone. Who are you calling? Brad asked, frowning. The police. Marjorie scoffed. The police for what? A zoning dispute. No, Elena said. Dialing for trespassing. Brad's eyes widened. We're not trespassing, we're on the public sidewalk. You stepped onto my driveway, Elena said calmly. That's private property, and you're here to harass me about a legal installation. I feel threatened. That's ridiculous, Brad sputtered. Is it? Elena held up her phone. Because I've got your violation notice, your denial letter, and now a recording of you demanding I remove something protected by state law. Sounds like intimidation to me. Liam took a step back. Ms. Martinez, maybe this is overkill. Is it overkill to defend your rights? She asked, not unkindly. Or is it overkill to fine someone into poverty because their roof doesn't match your fantasy of perfection? The 911 operator answered. Elena spoke clearly. Hi, I'd like to report a trespassing and harassment incident at 4217 Palo Verde Lane. 3 individuals from the HOA are on my property, demanding I remove legally installed solar panels, and I feel unsafe. She gave names, descriptions, ended the call. Brad's face turned the color of overcooked shrimp. You're insane, the police won't come for this. They'll come, Elena said, because in Arizona solar access is a civil right and I'm not backing down. At 1:38 p.m., Officer Diaz arrived. He was young, calm, with kind eyes and a name tag that read RDIAZ. He listened to both sides without interrupting. Brad presented the HOA covenants. Marjorie cited community standards. Liam stood silently, staring at his shoes. Elena handed Officer Diaz a printed copy of ARS Section 331803. He read it slowly, then looked up. Mr. Henderson, this statute is clear. HOAs cannot prohibit solar energy devices. They can impose reasonable restrictions like placement or screening, but not outright bans or denials based purely on aesthetics. But we didn't ban it, Brad protested. We just required approval. You denied approval without valid safety or structural grounds, Diaz said. That's functionally a ban, and under Arizona law, that's illegal. Marjorie's lips thinned. This is outrageous. We've managed this community for 20 years without solar panels, Elena finished. Without progress, without letting people adapt to a changing world. Officer Diaz turned to her. Ma'am, are you pressing charges for trespassing? Elena looked at Brad, at Marjorie, at Liam, who finally met her eyes and gave the tiniest nod. No, she said, but I want this documented, and I want written confirmation from the HOA that my solar panels are compliant with state law and will not be subject to fines. Diaz nodded. I'll file a report, and I suggest the HOA consults a lawyer before sending any more violation notices. As the officer left, Brad muttered, this isn't over. Oh, it is, Elena said. For you, maybe not, but for me, it's just beginning. The aftermath unfolded quietly. 2 days later, Liam showed up at her door, not in HOA colors but in jeans and a band t-shirt. I quit the internship, he said. Mr. Henderson called me disloyal, but I read the whole law, you were right. Elena invited him in for lemonade. They talked about climate change, about how his science teacher had shown them a graph of rising temperatures in Arizona. My little sister has asthma, he admitted. Bad days get worse when it's hot and smoggy. Elena nodded. That's why I did it, not just for me, for everyone. A week later, the HOA sent a formal letter signed by a different board member, stating that Elena's solar panels were deemed compliant under Arizona revised statutes and that no fines would be assessed. No apology, but compliance was enough. Then something unexpected happened. Mrs. Gable from across the street, widow, 78, always in a sun hat, knocked on Elena's door. If it's legal, could you help me get panels too? My electric bill is killing me. Then Mr. Chen from down the block, then the young couple with the newborn. Within a month, 5 homes in Saguaro Springs had solar panels. The HOA stopped sending violation notices. And Elena, she started a neighborhood group, Saguaro Solar Collective. They shared installers, negotiated bulk rates, and even hosted a Solar 101 night at the community center. Brad Henderson still glared at her from his porch, but his glare had lost its power. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the Catalina Mountains, painting the sky in streaks of violet and gold, Elena sat on her roof, not on the edge but safely on a patio chair she'd dragged up there. The panels hummed softly, converting sunlight into electricity, into freedom. Liam joined her, holding 2 cans of sparkling water. They're beautiful, aren't they? He said, nodding at the panels. Like black mirrors catching the future, Elena replied. He hesitated. Do you think maybe I could intern with your solar group this fall instead of the HOA? She smiled, only if you promise never to deliver violation notices again. Deal. They sat in silence as the stars blinked awake. Below them, the neighborhood glowed not with the harsh glare of streetlights but with the soft, steady light of homes powered by the sun. And for the first time in years, Elena felt like she belonged. Not because she followed the rules, but because she dared to change them.